This is Nick Diffatte. This is also Nick Diffatte, but a little bit older and wiser. This is his brand new book of magic, published by Squash Publishing. And this is Erudite Magic, where we're going to talk about this entertainingly magical book in today's episode. I'll give you sneak peeks inside, we'll discuss who could benefit from this material, and how you can purchase it below retail. The book, like Nick Diffatte, is, well, offbeat. And this episode will reflect that. Before we get into the book, though, you need to know who the author is. And no, he's not just a reincarnation of Drew Carey. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard the name in the last few years. But who is this kid anyway? In the foreword, Matt King describes him as a grizzled senior citizen trapped in a schoolgirl's body. But seriously, he's a Minnesota native who's been performing comedy magic full-time and has been quite successful at that endeavor. His style is self-deprecating and slightly sarcastic, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of the type of material he creates and uses. But more on that in a second. He broke out of the Midwest and moved to Vegas, where he fills in regularly for Mac King when Mac is on vacation or traveling, so you know he's a top-flight pro. In fact, according to Mac, he writes that Nick Diffatte is his hope for the future of comedy magic. Back to what this has to do with you. Nick has been publishing magic tricks for a number of years, basically since he was a teenager. You may have seen his bill change from Penguin Magic as an instant download. It was quite popular on social media a few months ago.
Hey guys, I'm Nick Diffatte. Let's get into it.
He's also released a number of commercial magic items which may look familiar in just a second. But based on his Instagram magic feed, he absolutely loves magic books. And he wanted to share some of his creations in a more enduring format than just the individual DVD download or trick. The book is published by Gabe Fahuri and Squash Publishing out of Chicago, so you know the production values are absolutely exquisite. It is hardcover, cloth bound, and is approximately 185 pages. It is lavishly and tastefully photographed on actual film. The goal was to replicate a Stars of Magic type feel with the photographs. Mission accomplished, guys. In addition, there are mid-century style illustrations between the chapters that give it a really old school vibe and make it a delight to read. This book collects 16 of his own personal routines, which, as he says in the preface, this is not theoretical material. All of it has been audience tested and actually used for years before ever seeing print in this book. According to Nick, he's been performing most of this material since he was about 13. In addition to the trick, there are 9 official essays, although I think there's a 10th if you count the pearls of wisdom he drops at the end of the balloon mammal routine, where he describes how to make friends with the participants that are being invited onto your stage so that you can share camaraderie and potentially use sharper humor. There was a lot of gold in that section. Anyway, let's dive into the specifics of the material and share with you some sneak peeks of what's inside. The book has a really nice variety of material, even though it's not a super thick volume. The write-ups are concise but thorough. Did I mention that John Lovick was one of the editors? Apparently, Handsome Jack does not get along with Nick at all. Within these gorgeous pages, there are gags and close-up items, although most of the material will play for a parlor or stage-style setting. Nick gives you a lot of different options for the props, and they're all used in offbeat ways. There's everything from balloon animal predictions to a dye tube routine. There's a rope trick, his comedic take on the 7 keys to bald pate mentalism routine, using a participant and a pair of handcuffs. He even uses chewing gum to orchestrate a fast-paced bank night routine where the participant chooses the only stick of gum that doesn't contain a bill of some denomination wrapped in the wrapper. The author shares his technique to seal anything into a bag of chips or similar type package. There's a 51 cards to pocket style routine using crayons instead of cards, as well as a practical alternative to a lapel wallet for any object to wallet type routine you have. Oh, and he has a version of the Quran medallion routine using a quarter, which makes so much more logical and practical sense than the original using a silver medallion. If you like close-up material, he tips his bill change, which transforms a piece of Monopoly money, a receipt, or any other similar sized piece of paper like a coupon into any denomination bill that you want. This was previously commercially released. And Mismatch, also previously released as a download. It's a torn and restored paper match where at the end you get to hand out an impossible object, a paper match with the head in the middle. I mentioned gags, and there are several. A party blower that unrolls when the performer sticks it in their ear, plugs their nose, and blows. And he's tipping his full contact. Nick's take on Tom Mullica's classic Sight Savers, basically removing or replacing a giant contact lens into your eye. This brings up an interesting point. Most of the material in this book will require you to make the props via arts and crafts. Frankly, I loved this because if you're willing to go to the work to make the props, you'll appreciate the magic so much more. A few of the items you can purchase the props, especially the ones that would be difficult to make, like the aforementioned giant contact lens. As you've already gathered, in a refreshing breath of fresh air, there are only 2 card tricks in the entire book. One is a magician in trouble prediction and location style routine, and the other one is completely different than anything else you've seen. In short, a tea bag and a selected card change places, which means that the participant finds their card in their cup of tea. Like I said, offbeat. Nick does provide an outline of his presentations, but you won't and shouldn't be buying this book to steal funny lines from a funny guy. Some of this material has already been in print. I mentioned the Penguin video downloads.
Hey folks, I'm Nick Diffatte.
And if you've seen him lecture, for example, at Abbott's,
Hey folks, I'm Nick Diffatte.
he tipped some of the material there. He previously published a booklet called Funny, one of my first magic reviews, by the way. And a few of the essays and tricks in this book already saw print in that pamphlet. So if you have that or have read it, then you've seen some of the material already. I've talked about the tricks, but I should point out that the essays were very helpful. None of them are super groundbreaking, but they are thought-provoking and will be great reminders of the things that you can and should be doing. You'll learn how you could and how Nick keeps track of his ideas. How to get better in the fastest way possible. What to do when things don't go according to plan. What makes for a good opener, etc. When you take the cost of the original trick and downloads, plus the cost of that pamphlet at $25, you start to see that this book offers a pretty good value at $55 retail. I recognize that Nick is a new and young name in the world of magic, but I do believe this book can help you. If nothing else, you'll see how you can think outside the box and present things other than card tricks to engage and entertain your audience. But you'll also learn some practical and offbeat magic and methods that could go straight into your act as long as you're willing to put the work into making the props. All that said, I recommend it. One word of caution, this book is PG-13 with the type of language it uses. I won't belabor that point, but just be aware that if you're sensitive to that or you're buying this for a young author, you should know it. As always, my Erudite friends, thank you for watching, and until next time, keep reading.
Cut the... Well, how am I supposed to turn it off?